In the shadow of the Pyrenean peaks, where the wind carves the stone into needles of ice, there lived a small breath of a girl, a flicker in the damp gloom of the cachot. The walls of her world tasted of salt and ancient hunger, yet her hands held the worn wood of the beads, as if it were the only warmth left in the hollow of the earth. Bernadette, small sister of the brambles, gatherer of dry wood along the banks of the Gave, you did not seek the thrones of the valley or the gold of the cathedral spires, for your eyes were tuned to a frequency of the unseen, a quiet hum beneath the roar of the mountain water that others mistook for silence. Massabielle waited like a mouth of earth, dark and forgotten by the respectable, a sanctuary for the refuse of the river, and the prayers of the desperate who had nowhere else to turn. Then came the tremor in the leaves of the wild rose, a rustle that was not the north wind, but the stirring of a celestial garment. A lady of light stood in the niche, clothed in the brilliance of 1,000 midnights, turned to noon, her feet graced by the yellow roses of the mountain, her waist bound by a ribbon, the color of a summer sky after the rain. You knelt in the dirt, the rosary sliding through your fingers like smooth pebbles of faith. And in that moment, the hierarchy of the world was inverted, for the queen of the stars spoke to the child of the bread lines in the language of the heart. They laughed when you scratched at the earth with trembling hands, your fingernails blackened by the silt, and the mockery of the wise who see only the surface of things. You drank the muddy slurry, an act of madness to the clean, a feast of humility that the proud could never swallow. But the mud grew clear, the earth surrendered its secret, and a vein of liquid silver began to pulse from the rock, a persistent heartbeat of mercy that would never run dry. This was the baptism of the grotto, where the wounds of the flesh met the purity of the hidden deep, and the water carried the scent of a grace that does not bargain with the worthy, but flows freely to the broken. I am the Immaculate Conception, she whispered, and you who knew only the patois of the poor and the rhythm of the shepherd's call, carried those heavy words like precious porcelain back to the gates of the town. You did not understand the dogma of the scholars, yet you were the living vessel of its truth, a child of grace who walked between the raindrops of doubt without getting wet. Your poverty was your protection, a transparency that allowed the light of the lady to pass through you without the distortion of ego or the shadow of ambition. You were the messenger who became the message, a quiet witness to the reality that the smallest soul is the widest window for the divine. The world demanded a spectacle, a saint to be touched and measured, but you chose the shadow of the cloister, the white veil of nevers, where the only applause was the clicking of beads and the slow erosion of your bones. Your suffering was a silent liturgy, a long winter of the body, where the flowers of the grotto were replaced by the thorns of the cross. I am ground like a grain of wheat, you said, as the light of your soul prepared to leave the fragile lantern of your frame. You did not ask for the healing you gave to millions. You offered your pain as a ladder of sighs, reaching toward the one who smiled at you in the niche of the rock, when you were only a girl with a bundle of sticks. Now the mountains echo with the songs of the pilgrims, a river of fire moving through the dark, each candle a prayer ignited by your simple and devastating yes. The water still rises, cold and crystalline, washing the dust from the eyes of the blind and the heavy burdens from the hearts of the weary, child of grace. You remain in the stillness between the notes of the hymn, a reminder that the most profound miracles are found in the mud, that the highest heavens are reached by those who kneel the lowest, and that the grace of the Lady is a spring that begins in the heart of a child who was never afraid to believe in the impossible. The silver breath of the vaulted stone awakens before the first candle is struck, a suspiration of ancient dust and indwelling holiness that precedes the opening Nunu. Here, where the shadows of the cloisters meet, the rising incense of 1,000 years. The Ave Maria is not merely a sequence of syllables, but an architectural resonance, a living pillar of sound built upon the bedrock of a singular, feminine fiat. It begins as a low hum in the throat of the silence, a monophonic thread of gold weaving through the gray tapestry of the morning, tracing the contours of the angel's salutation with the precision of a master illuminator's brush. The Gregorian pulse does not hurry. It follows the slow, deliberate rhythm of the heart in contemplation, a melismatic ascent that climbs the Romanesque arches until it finds rest in the high, cold stillness of the nave. Gratia plena, the chant murmurs, and the air becomes heavy with the scent of lilies, crushed against the marble of history, a sweetness that is both a wound and a balm. The voices are many, yet singular, a collective longing that seeks the face of the mother in the half-light of the sanctuary, where the echoes of part once still linger like the ghost of a prior devotion. This is the second breath, the deepening of the plea, the soul moving further into the interior castle, where the Queen of Heaven sits enthroned, not in gold, but in the humility of the uncreated light. Every interval is a footstep on the pilgrim's path, every cadence a kneeling before the mystery of the Word made flesh within the hallowed vessel of her being. The melody rises in a gentle swell, a wave of liquid prayer that breaks against the shore of the divine, carrying the debris of our worldly sorrows to be washed clean in the tide of her intercession. Benedicta II in Mulieribus, the stone itself seems to sing, vibrating with the frequency of a grace that was before the foundations of the world were laid. The Dorian mode holds the grief of the world in a vessel of perfect proportion, allowing the sorrow of the Pieta to exist, alongside the radiance of the Assumption without shattering. It is a sacred geometry of sound, where the distance between the sinner and the star is D by the single, unwavering line of the chant. There is no artifice here, no vanity of the performer, only the egoless surrender of the monk's breath to the timeless current of the hymn. The neumes are like birds caught in a steady updraft, circling the name of Mary with a geometric grace that defies the gravity of our fallen nature. We are transported to a place where time is measured not by the ticking of the clock, but by the slow burning of the sanctuary lamp and the rhythmic return of the Kyrie. Now, as the shadows lengthen and the second movement of this Marian devotion reaches its zenith, the supplication turns toward the hour of our departure. Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, the voice is entrained, and the tone darkens into a rich, oaken resonance, the sound of ancient forests, and the deep earth where the seeds of the resurrection lie dormant. The Gregorian line becomes a lament that is simultaneously a victory, a recognition of the frailty of the flesh held in the unwavering gaze of the Mother of Mercy. It is the sound of 1,000 vespers coalescing into a single moment of absolute presence, where the now and the hour of our death are fused into a singular point of light. The chant does not end so much as it recedes into the eternal silence from which it emerged, leaving a shimmering residue of peace upon the walls of the soul. In this sacred space, the title is no longer a label, but a physical reality, a tactile experience of the holy. The Ave Maria is the deepening of the well, the second pouring of the wine, the further exploration of the infinite landscape of grace. It is the echo of the first greeting finding its way home to the heart of the believer, a Gregorian across the abyss of the mundane. As the final amen dissolves into the twilight, the air remains charged with the electricity of the divine, a lingering perfume of holiness that remains long after the monks have departed and the candles have guttered out. The stone remains, the silence remains, and within that silence, the hymn continues to sing itself in the hidden cloisters of the spirit, an unceasing Marian breath that sustains the world in its quiet, melodic embrace. In the shadow of the Pyrenean peaks, where the wind carves the stone into needles of ice, there lived a small breath of a girl, a flicker in the damp gloom of the cachot. The walls of her world tasted of salt and ancient hunger, yet her hands held the worn wood of the beads, as if it were the only warmth left in the hollow of the earth. Bernadette, small sister of the brambles, gatherer of dry wood along the banks of the Gave. You did not seek the thrones of the valley or the gold of the cathedral spires, for your eyes were tuned to a frequency of the unseen, a quiet hum beneath the roar of the mountain water that others mistook for silence. Massabielle waited like a mouth of earth, dark and forgotten by the respectable, a sanctuary for the refuse of the river and the prayers of the desperate who had nowhere else to turn. Then came the tremor in the leaves of the wild rose, a rustle that was not the north wind, but the stirring of a celestial garment. A lady of light stood in the niche, clothed in the brilliance of 1,000 midnights turned to noon. Her feet graced by the yellow roses of the mountain, her waist bound by a ribbon, the color of a summer sky after the rain. You knelt in the dirt, the rosary sliding through your fingers like smooth pebbles of faith. And in that moment, the hierarchy of the world was inverted. For the queen of the stars spoke to the child of the breadlines in the language of the heart. They laughed when you scratched at the earth with trembling hands, your fingernails blackened by the silt, and the mockery of the wise who see only the surface of things. You drank the muddy slurry, an act of madness to the clean, a feast of humility that the proud could never swallow. But the mud grew clear, the earth surrendered its secret, and a vein of liquid silver began to pulse from the rock. A persistent heartbeat of mercy that would never run dry. This was the baptism of the grotto, where the wounds of the flesh met the purity of the hidden deep, and the water carried the scent of a grace that does not bargain with the worthy, but flows freely to the broken. I am the Immaculate Conception, she whispered, and you who knew only the patois of the poor and the rhythm of the shepherd's call, carried those heavy words like precious porcelain back to the gates of the town. You did not understand the dogma of the scholars, yet you were the living vessel of its truth, a child of grace who walked between the raindrops of doubt without getting wet. Your poverty was your protection, a transparency that allowed the light of the lady to pass through you without the distortion of ego or the shadow of ambition. You were the messenger who became the message, a quiet witness to the reality that the smallest soul is the widest window for the divine. The world demanded a spectacle, a saint to be touched and measured. But you chose the shadow of the cloister, the white veil of nevers, where the only applause was the clicking of beads and the slow erosion of your bones. Your suffering was a silent liturgy, a long winter of the body, where the flowers of the grotto were replaced by the thorns of the cross. I am ground like a grain of wheat, you said, as the light of your soul prepared to leave the fragile lantern of your frame. You did not ask for the healing you gave to millions. You offered your pain as a ladder of reaching toward the one who smiled at you in the niche of the rock when you were only a girl with a bundle of sticks. Now the mountains echo with the songs of the pilgrims, a river of fire moving through the dark. Each candle a prayer ignited by your simple and devastating yes. The water still rises cold and crystalline, washing the dust from the eyes of the blind and the heavy burdens from the hearts of the weary. Child of grace, you remain in the stillness between the notes of the hymn, a reminder that the most profound miracles are found in the mud, that the highest heavens are reached by those who kneel the lowest, and that the grace of the lady is a spring that begins in the heart of a child who was never afraid to believe in the impossible. Through the arched silence of the basalt ears and the long thrumming vigil of the unlit wick, we have carved your name into the very lintels of our exhaustion. There is a weight in the Advent air, a suspension of breath that tastes of cold iron and coming cedar, where the ancient dust of the prophets mingles with the fresh frost of a Judean midnight. We are the inheritors of a sigh that began when the first gates were barred, a lineage of the tethered who have learned to read the braille of the stars while waiting for a hand to touch the horizon. We stand in the nave of history, where the echo of the Stuttgart cadence grounds our feet upon the shivering stone. And we summon the king who arrives not with the roar of a predator, but with the terrible fragility of a heartbeat. Come, O long expected, who was whispered in the tents of nomads and calculated in the geometries of the Magi. For our knees are callous from the stone, and our spirits are thin as beaten gold. You are the release of the captive, not merely from the iron shackle, but from the internal cage of the self, where the shadows of our own making have long outgrown our stature. From the stump of Jesse, where the sap seemed dry, to a memory of greenness, emerge now as the sovereign branch that defies the winter of our discontent. We do not ask for a conqueror who tramples the vintage of wrath, but for the deliverer who gathers the scattered fragments of our dignity and knits them into a royal garment. The choir breathes as one, a single lung of prayer, vibrating against the stained glass, where the story of the light is told in shards of sapphire and crimson. They sing of the consolation of Israel, a phrase that carries the salt of 1,000 years of tears, and the honey of a promise kept against the odds of entropy. It is the music of the great homecoming, where the prodigal species recognizes the gates of its creator, walking through the tall grass of the world's evening. Every voice is a thread of silver, pulled through the dark fabric of the present, a sonic spanning the abyss between the not yet and until the air itself feels heavy with the gravity of your approach. Born to set thy people free is the mantra of the revolutionary and the lullaby of the weary, for there is no freedom like the surrender to a love that knows the architecture of our bones. Break the heart of the oppressor by the gentleness of your entry, and break the pride of the righteous by the poverty of your cradle. We have built cathedrals of pride and dungeons of despair, but you seek only the manger throne of a willing spirit, where the cattle of our instincts flow in the presence of the infinite. Let the Stuttgart melody rise like a pillar of smoke in the wilderness, a steady and rhythmic pulse that mimics the walking pace of those who journey toward the light. You are the desire of every nation, even those who have forgotten how to name their hunger or have tried to sate it with the husks of fleeting empires. There is a cosmic ache that only the incarnation can soothe, a tectonic shift in the soul when the creator becomes the creature and hollows the very dust we tread. In the harmony of the voices, we hear the reconciliation of all things, the high soprano of hope dancing above the deep bass of our mortality, creating a resonance that shakes the foundations of the tomb before it is even occupied. This is the advent of the internal kingdom, where the scepter is held by a hand that will one day bear the scar of our salvation. By thine own eternal spirit, rule in all our hearts alone. For we have tried the governance of kings and the whims of the mob, and found them wanting of the mercy that only a shepherd king can provide. Bring us out of the twilight of our expectations into the noon of your presence, where the long expected becomes the forever possessed. We are no longer orphans of the void, but children of the promise, standing on the threshold of a new creation, where the first light of the morning star is already catching on the edges of our songs. The hymn ends, but the vibration remains, a holy disturbance in the atmosphere. It says he's coming, he is near, he is here. The dust of 2 millennia has settled into the creases of my own palms. Yet the gravel of the Via Dolorosa feels fresh beneath the soles of a soul weary from the winters of its own making. There is a specific gravity to this season, a density of atmosphere, where the air turns into thick cedar smoke and the scent of bitter hyssop. You do not merely walk beside me. You have reached into the hollow architecture of my chest and extracted the leaden weights I've named and the ones I've buried in silence. The wood of the beam is not a solitary object of history, but a porous vessel absorbing the salt of my particular tears, the jagged edges of my betrayals and the cold iron of my indifference. I watch your shoulders shift under the impossible geometry of my grief. The grain of the timber